testing 1 2 3, testing 1 2 3, testing 1 2 3, testing 1 2 3.
If you're trying to lose belly fat, stop doing cardio. This sounds backwards, right? Well, believe it or not, it's actually true. Sitting throwing rocks across the pavement, hoping it will cave in and swallow me whole. Wondering why my mind keeps on spinning. This isn't how living to me was told. Why am I like this? Something's always amiss. Can't put my finger on it, but it's there. Wait for it to subside, but my mind won't apply. Waiting for the clear.
up on the brink. I tried so hard, but all these scars, they cut so deep, I bleed. I fell so fast from heaven, it's like someone clipped my wings. Now I'm falling, and I can't see the ground. Can we stop this gravity? It keeps bringing me down. I can't breathe and I don't wanna die. Can we stop this gravity? 'Cause I wanna say goodbye. I forgive the pain you gave to me so long ago. Sleepless nights I laid awake just begging to let go. I almost got to suicidal thoughts, but you stepped in. An angel sent from heaven showed me how to live again. Now I'm falling, and I can't see the ground. Can we stop this gravity? It keeps bringing me down. I can't breathe and I don't wanna die. Can we stop this gravity? 'Cause I wanna say goodbye.
Testing go live in 10. Testing go live in 10.
with a slow motion crew, and we up in our growlings when people change, but not us. And we just chillin', kicking it, kissed by the sun. Could be soaked to the skin in the mall soon. I know she got the good vibes when seasons change, but we're the same. Even if I lost all my money, the zero runs deep, honey. And I don't need to speak a single word, 'cause you got me haunting, haunting. Even if my jokes aren't funny, my tongue tied up on it. And I don't need to speak a single word, 'cause you got me haunting, haunting.
Here we go again. Trying hard, but you wanna be my friend. Ain't no place to hide, ain't no one to run to. Here we go again. Call my bluff, I'ma be here till the end. I'm the one you ride, I'm the one you ride to. If you don't wanna change, ain't no place to hide, ain't no one to run to. If you don't wanna change, I can help you out. I can help you out. I can.
The best way to burn fat is with more fat. And I'm being serious because there's actually two different
Help you out. I can help you out. I can help you out. I can help you out. Here we go again. Time is up and I'm calling up my friends. Ain't no wonder why, ain't no wonder right to. Here we go again.
Good morning, evening, afternoon, wherever you're at. So this is Dan, and we are getting ready to kick off the community meeting about Zell, Flux, and a lot of amazing things. So I just want to get a sound check real quick from people out there. Can you guys hear me all right? It looks like you can. All right, cool. Let's get started. Again, I want to thank everybody for coming out today because I know that this is an off day and you want to spend it with your family. So giving me 40 minutes of your day to go through this is awesome. I also want to have everybody that is in the live stream now or on other formats of live stream, can you please like and share this in your Twitter? We want to use hashtag Flux on that if you can at all. So just go ahead and like and share that as well. That'll get us trending a little bit there. So I want to start out by saying thank you to the team. This has been an absolutely amazing 2 months to watch this project develop so quickly and a thoughtful process that went into it. I don't know what it was like to work with Satoshi Nakamoto. I can only imagine, I can only vision, but I think I got a pretty good close feeling of how that camaraderie was. You guys are the best. Trunk, Parker, you guys are like brothers. Everyone else in the team, you guys are all important, and we're very blessed to have you. And we are where we are today, continuing to build on the technology that we are today because of the team that we have. Just a couple housekeeping items. If you have questions, you can drop them into the YouTube and or the AMA over on the Discord. We have the moderators are working to compile those. As soon as this meeting is completed, I'm going to be heading over to, I don't know if I'm heading to Discord yet or I'm heading over to Crypto Mikkel's live stream to do an AMA. So we'll stop at Discord first and then maybe over with Crypto Mikkel. So special thanks for all the guys that put work into developing this PowerPoint presentation. You guys know who you are, K1 and all those guys, man. You guys have hit goose. I can't even give you enough thanks. So With that being said, I think we are in a very unique time, and I want to get into this presentation because this is an unbelievable amount of information to take in. This is not something that we have taken lightly as a project. We work together as a team to build this out, and I believe this separates us from other projects. I mean, we live in a world where there's tons of carbon copy projects out there that really aren't facilitating any solutions in the world. And we want to create solutions. And I think that as we started to build our project back in the FOMO of 2018, we looked at the project and we thought, well, the best way to make change or develop things would be to be maybe a privacy-based asset or something of that nature. And then as the project grew over the next several years, we realized very quickly that these, for lack of a better term, shitcoins were created. It kind of dinged the space. And I believe that as we move forward, those projects will continue to burn out and phase out. So that brought us to a real come together and meeting to discuss what our future wanted to be and how we wanted to roll forward. And many things were on the table. We talked about a lot of different stuff. But the one common thread that we all had together was we're here, we're in it for the long term, and we want to make something great. And I believe that is exactly what we're doing with Flux. So Flux is your gateway to a decentralized world. Here are the facts that we know are true. Change is constant and needed in any developing disruptive technology. If you are not learning, changing, and building, you will fail. You are only as good as your next release. And you guys remind us that quite often when you're in general and kind of busting us on when the next release is coming out. So we know change is imminent. And anyone can look around the space right now and see that change is imminent. Things are happening. We're moving into a different adoption cycle, and we need to be ahead of that. So with that, I today am saying goodbye to Zell. Flux, and hello to Flux. Flux will be the new project. We're really excited about it. Over the course of the next several weeks, you're going to see a full rebrand. We're going to retire the Flux or the Zell chain completely. Flux is going to be branded as a cross-chain utility asset. And what is a cross-chain utility asset? That's like a super buzzword. Sounds really awesome, sounds sexy, but we're going to talk a lot about that today and what that really does and what that can do for us as a project to continue to keep moving forward. When the internet was created, people asked, what is it used for? When Flux was created, people asked, what can it be used for? I often use this in different conversations, and people say, well, Flux really isn't the internet. Well, it could be. I mean, as we've seen in the past several months with the deplatforming and removing people from Twitter and all these different places, a decentralized space where those maybe an autonomous network, an autonomous organization can grow and flourish is imperative. That doesn't mean, and we'll get into some of the different parts of it here. That doesn't mean you can throw anything up there you want, but it does give you an outlet. So here's the presentation agenda for today. It's going to be about a 45-minute presentation, give or take, depending on how fast I talk. What's going to change? So what's the difference between yesterday and today? And what's the difference between Zell and Flux? We're going to talk about Flux, the asset. It's the new and improved. We're going to overview what cross-chain utility really is. We're going to talk about the rise of Flux, why Flux is going to continue to keep building and building. We have a new node structure and economic model, and we'll talk about that briefly. And then at the end, we're going to put it all together. So get your pen and pad, get ready to take notes because this is a lot, and we're going to cover a lot of ground. Everything is about to change. So the first thing is the Zelle project will be retiring 2018 to 2021. That you will start to see the exchanges start to move over to the new ticker, which is $Flux. That all the exchanges have been notified, and that will start over the process of about the next week or so. There's a couple exchanges that need to do a little bit more than others to get things moved over, but all the major players have been talked to about it. The Flux project lands and goes live on March the 28th of 2021. Flux will be a new cross-chain asset capable of distribution, transactions, and interactions across multiple blockchains. Now, if anybody has ever listened to me on any of the core podcasts or anywhere else, I've always said the holy grail of blockchain is interchain operability, and not necessarily all facets of the chain, but particular facets of the chain. So we're going to talk about what that looks like and how Flux has figured out how to use that interchain operability to develop projects together. Flux tokens are parallel assets capable of accessing and targeting DeFi functions, including exchanges, staking, lending, and liquidity pooling. So again, anybody that's listened to me, I'm not a huge fan of DeFi. I think a lot of DeFi was blown up, but there was particular pieces of DeFi that we've spent a great deal of time looking at and developing with and working with other partners around the actual functions of DeFi that will provide, just explosive growth within the space over the next several years. Obviously, decentralized exchanges, staking. We're going to talk about staking for service later in this presentation. Lending, so the ability to lend out your assets and create liquidity pooling as well to provide liquidity pools for those decentralized exchange or really anyone that's running an exchange or any need for liquidity pooling. Additional assets will include. This is the first go round, so these additional assets will be Flux ETH, Flux BNB, Flux KDA, and Flux Tron. There's 2 or 3 other ones that we are looking. This could go as high as 10. We can scale this up as high as we want if there's demand for it. But we targeted these specifically because we want to be able to have Flux participate, especially with the ETH chain and the KDA chain to start. KDA will actually be the first one to go. The parallel asset release will be on a rolling schedule. KDA will be the first to go, and that will launch when the Kadena swap DEX launches. So let's talk a little bit about Flux, the asset itself, because there's been a lot of concern, a lot of focus around the utility base, the need for the asset. The entire project at this point relies on that asset, and I'm going to tell you a little bit more what that is. So the obvious is we got a new logo, which is nice and bright and chipper, and I love it. So the new ticker will be $Flux, and it will be a complete rebrand of the ecosystem. Zelle will no longer be in the ecosystem. More focus on Flux and use for cross-chain assets. So as you've seen in the past, some of our relationship with KDA and how we provide infrastructure to different projects, we're going to continue to keep doing that, and we're going to develop that out highly, and we're going to talk about that more in this presentation in a bit. But we're also going to focus on the cross-chain asset aspect of it to be able to access those DeFi functions and so on and so forth. Flux can be used for DeFi, fintech, and of course, a tech focus as well. A new marketing and PR focused on one project and one project only, Flux. We've had a difficulty from the beginning of the project explaining exactly what Zelle did, the asset. And we thought very long and hard about this process and how we were going to approach this. And we want to be able, for every single person, to be able to explain what this is and how it works, and with a very simplistic approach. And we're going to talk about that here in a minute. We are also going to focus all of our marketing and PR efforts only on the Flux asset. So, we have a lot of different projects that float around, Zell Labs, all these different ones that we have pop up. We have one now, and it's called Flux. The marketing shift is going to be moved to a medium, large scale business, both in technology and blockchain. For example, KDA, Tron, DOT, storage, and more. So we're going to look at those opportunities where we can continue to provide infrastructure. We can continue to provide development tools, continue to help code with their projects in tandem, so that interchain operability is not just the chains working together, but the projects working together. That is the Holy Grail. A new economic model with a focus on growth and a new admissions curve to address our current challenges with the curve. So we currently are aware that we have an admissions challenge. So one of these, we have several ways kind of baked into this to address that, but we will take a great deal of time, and we are working with some partners outside the space, some contractors and consultants that are going to help us look at what is the best economic model moving forward. So these changes will also usher in a new economic model as well. That will be a later meeting, probably I'm going to say 2 weeks or so before we go live in March. A new permanent burn structure will focus on deflationary economics for use of asset burn to a foundational address. What does that mean? That means every stinking thing you do on this platform will require Flux, and it will be burned into an address and continually perpetuate the foundation for years to come. The closest thing I can use is BNB, but they actually physically burn their asset. We're not actually physically burning our asset. It's going to be put back into the foundation with lockups. So there'll be it works the same way, except we're not going to actually burn the asset into a wallet that doesn't exist. And the big for me is we are targeted to launch on the KDA DEX, Uniswap, and Binance DEX day one. So we are aggressively pursuing the DEX models out there. We want to make sure that we are in those platforms. We have very good relationships with KDA. We have a very good relationship with Binance DEX. And once we've minted the parallel asset for Uniswap, we're on there as well. And we want to create a new pool for funds for exchange listings and targets. So Coinbase, Kraken, and Binance are our targets. We have been in touch and talked to each one of those projects in terms of what we would need to do to adjust our structure so that we can be listed on those. As many people know, a couple of these, you could add Gemini to this one as well. A couple of these are merit-based. In other words, you have all the things that you need to get on there, and then there is some market making that comes into play. There's all kinds of different things, compliance, CVE reviews, audits. So these are not easy things to do, but this new pool of funds will target those particular exchanges, add Gemini in there as well. And those are the ones we're really going to go after. So overview, the decentralized cloud. Again, our cadence and what we share with people has to be very, very precise. We need to be able to share what this asset does and how it provides value. If we don't do that, then we're gonna have trouble. So my thought philosophy, and I think one that's easy for people to understand, is as follows. So it's a decentralized cloud infrastructure powered by blockchain and Flux. So Bitcoin is decentralized money, Tor, decentralized internet, Signal, decentralized messaging, AWS, centralized infrastructure, and Flux, decentralized cloud infrastructure. If we can pitch that and we can continue to keep that cadence the way that it should, okay, our branding and elevator pitch will be directly around decentralized answer to cloud infrastructure. A decentralized answer to cloud infrastructure. It's very easy to explain it when you compare it to other projects, kind of like this. So this is a nice little elevator pitch to kind of explain the things. The goal is to be inclusive of node operators, and we in the past have not included miners as much, and allow both of them to share in rewards moving forward. So whether you're mining Zell or you are standing up nodes, participate in that new structure. A new application that will run on you can access it. We'll be able to access it through Zellcore. Is going to be created. It's called Fusion. Users can check how many rewards are available to collect in the Fusion app. And those rewards can be from a distribution of a parallel asset token, rewards from running Flux nodes, and also business case rewards, much like KDA. The fee to collect those rewards and build on the network will be paid by the user, and the Flux will be burned to the foundation. So how does it work? It's decentralized cloud infrastructure. How do we do it? Well, we'll talk about how you get there here in a minute, but how do we pay for it? Well, we're going to pay for it with Flux. Who does it benefit? It benefits node operators, it benefits miners, and it benefits anybody that's participating in the ecosystem. So this is a visual of what it is, the rise of Flux. So Zell is going to be retired. Flux becomes the new, what I call, primary asset. Flux is the chain. Flux is the utility asset. It can then move between different chains by a fusion, which we'll have a really good visual here in a second, and I'll show it to you. And it can move to these different platforms. So we can utilize the KDA DEX. We can utilize the Flux or the BNB DEX. We can utilize ETH and all the DeFi functions. Zell holders will be holding Flux on the 27th of March. So when the project goes live, your Zell will become Flux, and you will hold it. You have to do nothing. It will, if this is going to be a chain update. So I don't know, Trunk might be able to answer the more technical questions in the AMA, but essentially you really don't have to do anything. You just have to hold your asset in a transparent wallet. Flux will be interchangeable within Zellcore between Flux BNB, Flux Dot, Flux ETH, etc. And it'll be a one-to-one, but there'll always be fees involved. So if the example that I give is if I have 100,000 Flux primary chain and I want to trade on the KDA DEX, right? I open Zellcore, I go to Fusion, and I mint my primary chain Flux, my 100,000, to the new chain, which is Flux KDA. I then can go to their DEX and begin trading just like any other exchange. At the end of the day, let's say I was a really good trader and I made 125,000 Flux KDA. I go back to Zellcore. I open up the app, Fusion. I mint it back to the primary chain, and I stand up two new nodes. So you can move between these different chains for whatever specific reason you need to, whether you're a trader or you want to be involved in DeFi, or you want to be involved in another project that you really like, and you can mint to that other project to trade. But you can always come back to Flux, and that's where the primary chain resides. Flux tokens will be given to Flux holders through a new rewards area of Fusion as they are launched. The idea is to incentivize the users of this space to come and stay. And we will have absolutely, without a doubt, 110% the most beneficial nodes, the most lucrative nodes, because we are not limited to one chain. We are limited to whatever our imagination is. And if you don't believe me, take the Zell KDA combination numbers for the nodes for the past couple months, and you add them together, and you're in pretty good shape. Now imagine that with 10 assets or maybe 20 assets as the chain continues to keep growing. So that is one thing that we want to do. And for our miners out there, we love our miners. You guys are going to take a hit here in one of the next slides, but that's okay, because we're going to give it right back to you again. Because I believe in proof of work, and I believe that what we're doing with this structure is going to be awesome. One second here. Flux assets will have to be on light addresses. So all of your Zell that you currently have will have to be moved out of your private addresses and placed into a T address for the snapshot. There's a reason for that, and we'll get to it in a minute. Nodes will change to a new format that relies on different benchmarks and new naming conventions, which are kind of cool. So this is what it looks like in a snapshot. If you were going to give somebody a cheat sheet, this is what you'd give them. Leveraging multiple blockchains enables Flux to incorporate the beneficial features of each blockchain without being dependent on another chain. So we're very blessed because we have Zellcore and the ability to mint these other assets through Fusion. We have a one-stop shop. So the way that the ecosystem works is you have Flux and you have the Zell node network, and they are kind of a symbiotic relationship. They are one project working together. Fusion creates the opportunity to leave that ecosystem and participate on these other exchanges, DeFi, DEX, so on and so forth, all while being able to come back to Flux if you want to run a node or if you want to trade or whatever. So the other news that's great is today you can go check it out. The proof of concept is greater than a proof of concept. Flux is available on the KDA swap in testnet today. So you can see there, how it's kind of laid out on their UI with pricing, maximum slippage, and of course a liquidity provider fee. So I'm really excited for the relationship with KDA. I couldn't say more better things about those guys. These two projects have really just went nuts and continue to keep developing things that are working together with other projects that, really just kind of builds us into space. So this is the overview of the chain changes. So essentially, if you're not familiar or you're on the live stream and you're seeing this for the first time, there's a chain that runs this, that fork will take place on March the 27th. What that fork is going to do is disable all Z addresses. This is the reason why we need you to move your Zell to a transparent address for that snapshot. We will no longer be a privacy-based asset because there's really no need for it. It was underutilized. It was not. There are other projects that do things better, and it allows our development team to focus on building out Flux and not worrying about pending legal implications in different areas. And because we are a global project, we just don't think that it's the best route for the project, and that's where we're going to go. And there's another reason why we're doing this as well here in a minute. The block reward will change 50% to miners and 50% to Flux node owners, and that's on the Flux chain. But the miners will now qualify for rewards with consistent mining uptimes. We're going to release what that looks like, but essentially we do the same thing with KDA. If you provide hash power for 15 to 30 days and you have a minimal amount of downtime, you will be prorated and you'll get extra Zell or extra Flux in this case. So we want to make sure that we are inclusive with our miners because our miners are important and we want to keep them involved. So I think this levels the playing field a little bit better for all sides. We're going to remove the shielding function from the node rewards. Flux rewards will not need shielded. So that pain in the ass of going in and shielding your nodes, you're not have to do that anymore. These changes will make it possible to create and control Flux nodes 100% without the need of running a full node. That means light address. That means right out of Zelcore, which is pretty badass. A development of a new liquidity pool for centralized and decentralized exchanges, target major listings. The economic model will be a separate meeting, specifically once we get all of our stuff together, all of our ducks in a row, and we're going to release that along with an updated white paper here within the next few weeks, so that people have plenty of time to review it and look at it and go over it. The development of a new liquidity staking for Zelcore swap service within Fusion. So the easiest way to explain this is that people with a multi-asset platform, they put all of their assets in one place. They may diversify, they may put someone on, different wallets or different whatever, but essentially, if it was as easy as flipping a button in Zelcore to provide liquidity to some of these different platforms, maybe lending platforms, or maybe, like a DEX model, you're going to be able to do that right in Zelcore. You'll be able to flip that switch and you'll be able to provide liquidity to them. There'll be a lockup period. I don't know a lot about the whole providing liquidity thing, but what I do know is it's the future of centralized and decentralized exchanges and so on and so forth. People putting their money to work. We're going to expand the staking for a service model. We have new companies that are in the beginning stages of talking to us about being able to come in and provide a service in the staking model. So if you hold 5,000 Flux, you'll have Zelcore Plus. There's some other pieces that we're working on to add into that as well. And we're going to continue to keep building that out. So the ultimate goal is to reward all the people in the ecosystem, and so that they can continue to keep growing together. Creation of the Fusion app that will allow cross-chain swaps of tokenized Flux to run on different platforms. That right there, that sentence 8, is really a good definition of what Fusion is. Fusion, and let me read it again, creation of the Fusion app will allow cross-chain swaps of tokenized Flux to run on different platforms. Interchain operability. Zelmate, much to my chagrin, and it pains me greatly to say, will be sunset, and your private key, you have to export your private keys for safety, and all you have to do to get off of Zelmate, if you're using it, which I will admit I still am and I love it, you will have to just open up the Zelcore full node and it'll bring it over. But make sure you back up and export your private keys. If you don't know how to do that, come on over and get some help. We'll help you out with that. And you need to transfer all of your Zell to a T address mid-March. So, we're going to make sure that we tell you, hey, we need to get this together. Let's move. And the other big thing is there will be a node halving for scaling. Will be slated somewhere between Q1 and Q3 of 2022. So what does that mean? Node halving. Well, a node halving works exactly the same way that a regular halving on a proof of work project works. So in Bitcoin, every so often it halves, the block rewards halve. Node halvings work somewhat similar to that in the sense that if I have, let's take a BAMP for instance, and I have 100,000 lockup, that 100,000 lockup is then reduced to 50,000. But the requirements to run the node stay the same or increase. So now Dan has a decision to make. He can either run 2 nodes, or which is what I think most people will do. They'll run a second node, and we continue to scale out our infrastructure that way. So we'll provide, I wouldn't say everybody would do it, but I would say 70% of the people that are running nodes, they would just get more Flux. They're just going to stand up more nodes, which continually perpetuates the growth of the system. There'll be more information about that in the revised white paper. So it sounds kind of scary, but it's really not. It's just a way to scale. So what's the new Flux node structure? So Q2, these are the requirements, structure, and tiers that will take place. The names have all changed. We are now the storage node, which is known as the Cumulus, the processing node that is Nimbus, and the powerhouse that is Stratus. So storage node is going to be greater than 2 cores, greater than 4 gigs, and storage is going to be greater than 240 gigs regular hard drive. Notice there's no solid state there. And an internet speed greater of 25 meg up and down. The processing node, which is called Nimbus, will be greater than 4 and greater than 200 events per second. 8 gigs of RAM, greater than 150 gigabyte SSD with a 160 megabyte write speed. And the internet or the bandwidth is 50 megs up and down. And the big boy, and we are sunsetting the name Banff, and I'll miss you, Banff. You were my buddy, but is now Stratus. Greater than 8, greater than 400 events per second, and 32 gigs of RAM, 600 gigabytes of solid state storage space, and 160 megabytes of write speed, and 50 megs down. So I couldn't tell you what the specs. I mean, I have them, obviously I have them, but I mean, I couldn't tell you. These specs go up a little bit, but they don't go up a lot. But the big thing is the addition of the new storage node, which is basic. It takes our basic nodes to a different level. The lockup requirements for these nodes are going to be the same for now. The Flux network will be capable of running, and I stress this with a nice bold and underline, any crypto or legacy technology related service, period. If you want to run Airbnb, we're going to be ready for it. Not out of the gate, but we'll go over that in our roadmap. Cumulus can easily run from a home or Raspberry Pi or Android TV box running Ubuntu. We plan to reward the Cumulus nodes that offer more storage with more Flux. For example, 1, 2, 3 terabytes. So essentially, this is a requirement to benchmark, but if you provide more resources here in this area of storage and you beef this up to 3 terabytes, you're going to get additional rewards for that, which is amazing because I have so many hard drives laying around. It's going to be so much fun. The Flux OS will be updated to use all hardware available on the VPS, the virtual machine computers, and Raspberry Pi. Example, if your Flux validator has 12 vCores, all will be counted as usable toward Flux. I'm sure people are going to have questions about that, and I'm not necessarily the technical guy, so that you can bring it to our AMA and we'll talk about that. Another big, massive announcement is the announcement of the first version of 1.0, the network governance for Flux. Flux will be governed. The governance asset will that will choose what runs on the decentralized network. Holding Flux gives node ops the ability to govern and develop the network. A new website will be created, run on Flux. The domain is secure, and I think it's already up, or maybe it's not. I don't know. It's a rough end, but essentially specific for persons and companies who want to host on Flux's decentralized network. These proposals will be submitted and voted on with the new governance area. So we talked earlier, remember, let's flip back. We talked about a governance area in Flux, and we talked about, or in Zelcore. So there'll be an area for you to find out what the votes are for consideration. The actual submissions will be on the Run on Flux.io website, but the voting will be done out of the governance area. Consideration is about an estimated 1 week. After 1 week, the company or individual submitting the proposal will be notified with the voting results. So we'll essentially send out the proposal to all the node ops, and we're going to go over the governance policy in another meeting, because we really have the finance, probably in the same one we do the new economic model. We'll go over both of those in the same meeting, because if you're running a larger node, you're going to get more votes than if you're running a smaller node versus, there was even something built in there for people that are staking for service. If proposal is accepted, so I'm Dan, I want to run an Airbnb in a decentralized manner. I have submitted it to Run on Flux. It has been given to the team. It's been vetted. The Docker image has been vetted. It is then provided to the community, the proposal, and the community says, yes, that's a good deal. Let's do that. Let's put it up on the network. They vote, and we come back and we tell them that their project has been accepted, and the person at company who made the proposal would be notified, and payment for the utility will be in Flux. So you will pay in Flux. All payments in Flux will be burned to the foundation. This will help increase the need for the Flux asset. And again, as we talked about in our economic model, there'll be a lockup of those particular burned assets so the foundation can continue to perpetuate itself into the future. Flux Governance Model 1.0 will be released formally within a week of the fork. So we're hoping to have that actually in tandem with the economic model. So we kind of boosted it up a little bit to try to get them two together before the fork. So here we go, everybody. Let's take a deep breath. And how am I on time? I'm doing all right. Okay. We're going to blast through these overview of the roadmap and targets. All holders of Zell will now be holding Flux on March the 27th. All Z addresses will be disabled from the Flux chain. It's going to be done in 3 steps, and it's going to happen between Q2 and Q3. New Flux node tier benchmarks will be launched on the 27th. Liquidity mining and Hummingbot and other platforms for liquidity mining, specifically around increasing the volume and activity on the exchanges, that will launch March the 27th as well. We're going to have liquidity mining events and so on and so forth. Tokens will be given to Flux holders through the Fusion app beginning March 27th. So the very first one would be the KDA. So there will be a distribution, whether that distribution is 1-to-1 or 1-to-0.5 or 1-to-0.25. We have that. We'll have that in the economic model. But essentially, if you're holding Flux at that particular snapshot, you're going to get KDA, Flux KDA. Block rewards from Flux chain, 50% to miners, 50% to Flux node ops. But remember, we are also incentivizing the miners. We're going to work with our pool operators. We're going to work with the community to get a setup so that they are awarded as well, to continue to bolster and push our proof of work side of the house forward as well. Launch of Flux KDA trading when Cadena Dex goes live. We don't know their timeline. They're in beta right now, I believe, and I think there's a bounty involved. So they're in the short strokes of getting that done. But the bigger thing is it's been natively integrated into Zelcore, which is pretty fantastic. So I think that's going to be a really good positive thing for the project as well. Fusion, enabling the change between Flux and tokens will be added to the swap servers Q1, Q2. So we obviously, if we're going to provide you with the ability to have a, Flux KDA, you want to bring that back to the main chain, we have to have the Fusion app in place. So that'll be Q1, Q2. This is a big one. Flux multi-port. That's a Q2. Dockers that need more than one ports and DK. I said you were going to be 97% happy with me today. This is one that goes under your cap. And the next one you'll like too. Flux HTTPS, and that's going to be Q2, Q3. So what does that mean? That means you can run secure websites on the Flux network. Think about that. You can run secure websites on a decentralized computational network. Amazing. And another one is Flux Docker Compose. So I'm not they don't even let me pretend to be the tech guy, but from what I understand, you can have multiple containers. So one Docker could have multiple containers inside the Docker so that more complex applications can be ran on the infrastructure. So apparently that's a big deal. The launch of Run on Flux IO will be Q1, Q2. I actually believe we have the domain and we're working on getting it like a landing page set up now. Parker's working on that. So you'll see that probably pop around here within the next few days. The Flux governance site and app is Q2, Q3. The formal acceptance of the governance vote will be Q3. Now, obviously, if we get this done quicker, we're not going to wait till Q3 to accept the governance model. We'll bring it forward. But there will have to be an official vote to actually accept the governance model as proposed. And that's how we'll move forward. This is one for my buddy Brent. Nifty gateways for holding and viewing Nifties in Zelcore. So I don't know, man. I don't get these things, but people love them. So I think there's a ton of value. Zelcore is pretty sexy in terms of its user interface. So I think that's going to be a lot more fun holding a Nifty and being able to show your buddies when you're hanging out right in Zelcore. So I think that'll be fun. And the one that I am waiting for, and this is one that I really love, is the fact that this could move up to as well, which would be Flux DeFi lending and yield farming on Zelcore. So what does that mean? That means you do not have to leave the platform to provide liquidity, to provide lending. It's all right inside of Zelcore. And the good news is we already have the platform. So, we're really excited about that. We've hired a new developer that's going to be specifically targeting on some of these things on the Zelcore side. And we're really excited to see this advance. And of course, the new economic model, which will be a formal proposal that will be submitted to the community. I wanted to have it done for this larger meeting. It's 97% complete, 96% complete, but we want to make sure that we dot all of our I's and cross our T's. So we're gonna hold off on that and do another meeting like this here in a few weeks. And we are going to release an aggressive marketing and PR campaign with funding. So we had a generous donor to the project who stepped up to help us facilitate some aggressive market planning. And we are looking right now, as I speak, for a marketing coordinator specifically for Flux. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how this individual helps us optimize SEO, start to bring in social aggregation, start to look not only in the DeFi space and the crypto space and the blockchain space, but into the tech sectors as well. So we can position ourselves where we need to be, whether that's running ads on AdWords or things like that. But it's an aggressive marketing plan. That actual marketing plan is all but complete and has been in a community. The marketing team has put it together, and that will go to our marketing director to begin to implement. And then that'll be a big community driven event as well. So once a month of marketing, just like this, you could do a live stream or we could do a recorded one where people can come in and talk about that. And we are also going to create a community development meeting. So right now our dev meetings are in private, and we're still going to have private dev meetings, but once a month, we want to have a community developer meeting. And these are anybody that is interested in building on Flux or has questions about Flux, what it can do. And I can tell you, Trunk had a meeting where he just started coding, and it was fascinating to watch him code. So, you guys, once a month, we'll put it up on there. We'll make sure that everybody knows it's happening. Grab a beer, some popcorn and a soda, whatever, and come sit and watch it. That all materialize. I think that's a lot of fun. And that is it. It's a lot to take in. I will post this deck in the Discord, and you guys can go through it and start to analyze it. I am heading back over to the Discord for now for the AMA, and I'm sure everybody has tons of questions because I see lots of hides and stuff like this. So I have time to take all of your questions and answers. So in conclusion, it's a lot of stuff, guys. I'm not gonna lie. It's been a lot of work to get here, right? We're well beyond proof of concept. We are deep into these things, and these are all very obtainable, realistic things. And it positions the Flux project as, I truly believe, one of the best blockchain projects out there. In terms of deliverability and moving outside the crypto space and into the technology space, we have a mission now. And I look forward to working with every single one of you guys. And I'll see you over on Discord. Thanks, guys.